am with Rene Naylor today on the Lead Like a Girl podcast. And I'm so excited for us to have a conversation with her, get to know her a little bit, get into some of the wisdom and the incredible story that is your life. I am so humbled by the intersections in your life with South African history, just your own choices as a young woman in the areas you wanted to press into, and then the kind of success you get to be a part of. I want to start here. Someone described you as someone who's got an incredible work ethic. And it was actually someone who'd written the article, and they kind of sign off and they say, as someone who watched Rene through her academic life, I am sure her work ethic is part of how she's gotten here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's quite interesting. I think that work ethic probably developed at a young age. And I think that's probably in our family. From my dad, a civil engineer, very hardworking, and my mom. And I never saw myself as hardworking, but I've got a younger sister. She studied law, and when she got her degree and she had a speech, she spoke about my work ethic, and it was quite surprising. She said, no, I had to follow in my big sister's footsteps of always spending a lot of time, very disciplined, and I think it was always wanting to do the best at everything I attempt. So one doesn't know if that comes out of trauma, that you're always validating the chip or the brick on your shoulder. But for me, I think that's why I did so well in the Springbok environment in the last few years, because everyone in that team had such a high work ethic. There was nothing wrong with working many, many hours. The physiotherapy room is seen as a 7-Eleven.
Always open?
Always open.
The work is done.
The work is done. It's open 7 to 11 at night, and it's a warm and healing environment.
So that's incredible. I often find it really difficult to title our guests. I particularly don't enjoy the word former in the way that it makes it sound like you no longer qualify into that space. And so you were the physiotherapist for the Springboks. You are a business owner. You are a mom. And really, you are someone we see as someone who leads like a girl, who has led in a way that other people can look to and really kind of join in that journey. So I'm really excited about having this conversation today. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about those formative years as you were making the decision, as you were studying. What were you looking forward to? What was I think what's interesting is just in that space, where did you think your studies would take you? You chose physiotherapy, you'd seen your dad's journey, but where did you think you would end up, just in terms of, when you started out?
Yes, if I think back many, many years ago, I did not expect to be standing on a stage with the heroes and legends of South Africa, getting the Webb Ellis Trophy, bringing it back to our beautiful country, where it meant more than just a rugby tournament. I think that I limited myself, which is sad, but if it's the truth. You were in a survival mode, fight flight mode, if I think back, and you just wanted to get through the next hurdle. The next hurdle was the most important, maybe similar to a World Cup tournament, the next match. And that's all you think about. You prep for, the long-term goal. So yes, I wanted to be a sport physiotherapist. I wanted to be successful in my career. But did I dream about becoming a Springbok physiotherapist? No. That happened, and it was just one step, at a time.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that, the journeys that we go on, it's the excellence that carries you through. It's the focus and the work that you're doing in that. It's that one game at a time, and anyone who remembers that last World Cup knows to the last minute, to the last 3 points, it's important how you play that game. So, I think just around that, I wanted to ask you, how did you choose your research for your master's? Because I think that was part of the journey of coming into the world of rugby. Were you interested in it, or was it something that was open up to you? How did you come about getting into your master's?
So I decided quite early on in my academic career that I would study further, that I was interested in research, and I then embarked on the Masters of Sport Physiotherapy. And because I was interested in rugby, that was the sport I enjoyed watching and was passionate about, I looked at the most common injury in rugby, and that was hamstring injuries.
Okay.
And then the research just evolved from that. There was a lot of obstacles in the beginning. People said, there's no way you're going to be able to follow 100 club rugby players. These are not professional players, but these were the players I had access to. And I decided I was following 100 to see what was the pre-season risk factors for their injuries. What could we predict at the start of the season would tell us this is high risk for a hamstring injury. So it was very, valuable research to do at the time. I always believe research should make an impact.
Right. And I think what's awesome about that as well is the fact that it's not just the dream, but it's a technical know-how. It's the way that changed the way that I believe that rugby players are looked after during the season, and how you've minimized injuries on players, how that's changed the game really. For rugby, I think that's amazing. But you grew up in a very different time in South Africa, a time that our children are learning about in the history books. What was that like in shaping you and in shaping your journey? Yes,
I think that growing up in that period where it was a lot of civil disobedience. Yeah. There was social unrest, political unrest. It was very traumatic. Yeah. At the time, you just go through it. But if I think back, and I think that, my son is close to that age, I don't think he would survive. If I think of what is a big deal to him right now. Yes. Yeah. But we got through it, There was a state of emergency. There was a lot of, hard decisions that you had to make as a young person. And for parents, if I think back, now that I'm a parent, I understand how complex that time was. And I think it taught me to persevere. It taught me to have resilience. Yeah. And also, I think you know that you'll get through it. That's what I realize if I look at my son now and he faces, a traumatic event. And I think I must just remember that he doesn't know that this is just the thunderstorm. And, thunderstorm comes to an end and then there's sunshine again. Yeah. But that is what you learn with experience. And that's important to always remember that it's just a season when things are tough.
Absolutely. You said something so powerful about what it was like to be in a community that was really fighting for transformation, that was fighting for change. Did you have that same knowing in that battle of kind of that there would be an overcoming or where it would take you?
No, I don't think so. I think I was too young, but there was a fearlessness about it, that we would do this no matter what. We'll do whatever it takes, because this was, and I think that's natural for a young person at that age. You need a cause, you need a purpose, and it kept us going, and it kept us fighting. And for me, education was also part of that. And that's why education for young girls is something very close to my heart, because I think it really liberates you and empowers you. And for me, I felt that yes, I wanted to be empowered, I wanted to be liberated. Yeah. And it wasn't an easy road, but yes.
It's amazing. And you talk about grit. You talk about the way that the community you belong to shapes you. Grew up in Valhalla on the Cape Flats, University of the Western Cape, UCT, and then into this rugby world. How do you feel your grit has showed up in kind of your journey in getting to where you are?
Yes, I think it's definitely played a big role because you've been through trauma. And I think that in the Springbok environment, we speak about being a warrior, really, going beyond your limits to be successful. That I believe is what makes us win the last 3 games in a World Cup tournament by 1 point, is that warrior in you. And that comes really from trauma and being able to overcome trauma. And I sometimes, would engage in discussions with the leaders in the team or our leader, and he would admit that if he had to do selection, that would be a factor. What has this person overcome in their life?
That's so powerful.
And not many people know that.
Yeah.
And he said to me, when I asked him about it, he said, yes, that's correct. If he has 2 players, management, and this is not just players, management as well, he'll look at who has gone through something big.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you really amazing stories about each and every Springbok player and management.
I mean, that frames something so incredibly for me, because often we hear the stories of the trauma and how people's lives are sort of stopped by hardship, stopped by difficulty. And yet it's that ability to stay in it, stick through it. You don't know what the other side looks like. It's a thunderstorm, it will end. And on the other side of that, you're actually better skilled. You are prepared for the journey and for the contribution that you're going to make into that space. I mean, I think we are working with young women, we're having conversations as women, and women in South Africa go through hard times. It is not an easy place to be a young woman, but to take the trauma and not allow it to hijack us, to stop us from becoming who we're going to be, and to see ourselves through to the other side is incredible. I think that is something that more women need to kind of hold on to and learn from and push through. Don't give up. It looks very different on the other side. And you say that, and the first Springbok team you entered is not the same as the teams we then know into 2019 and 2023. Talk to me a little bit about that journey.
Yes, entering the Springbok environment in 2008 was very different to what it was at the end. And yes, I enjoyed my journey throughout, and there were powerful lessons throughout. But coming in 2008, it was a very, one culture dominated, one language dominated, one religion dominated, and you assimilated, and just that is what one does. And I believe the success of the team was when we said, right, let's be diverse. Let's include lots of different people that speak different languages, different backgrounds, different experiences. And it was so enriching for everyone, because what we've been through in South African history has fragmented us, and we know so little about other communities and other religions, and that diversity was powerful, and learning different things from different people. I believe that was part of the success, and particularly when there was inclusion. Now you can be yourself. You can speak your language, you can listen to your music, you can be who you are, and be yourself and be authentic. And that, I think, is what made people perform at their best and made us able to bring that trophy back, because it now means a lot more. Yeah. It's saying, you know what, diversity and inclusion actually works.
Yeah.
Because if we work together, we just have success, and it just, I think that we can't change all the social problems we have in our country, but I think it gives us hope that if we just make the decision to work together, it can be so powerful and so big for our country.
That's huge, Rene. I think I don't want to miss the fact that here you are running onto the field as the physiotherapist to the Springboks. A woman, an incredibly attractive, strong, qualified woman in that space. Talk to us about what that's like. I mean, I can't think of a more hyper-masculine environment than that, to bring your light, to bring your grit, and to lead like a girl. Tell us what that was like.
I must be honest that when I started at the Springboks, I didn't really pay attention to the fact that I was a female when I walked into the environment. I probably downplayed the femininity to a large extent because I thought I didn't want it to be seen as a distraction. And you feel a huge responsibility that you don't want to mess it up. Because you're a female and because you're a person of color, you don't want them to say, oh my gosh, never again. First and last. And I did carry that on my shoulders. And so I put all my energy and effort into being the best physiotherapist. I just wanted the players to trust that I would get them back on the pitch again. And that I would be good as a physiotherapist.
Right.
And I didn't expect any changes to happen because I was there as a female.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that my journey's just been enriching and
you did that, right? You got them back on their feet. You were an incredible physiotherapist. But I read a little story about you traveling with a baby across 3 continents while doing this role. Talk to me about that superpower that is motherhood, but that is also just professional excellence. Tell me a little bit about how you made that decision as a mom and as the physiotherapist to the Springboks.
yes, if I think back, I get emotional because, when I fell pregnant, it was an absolute blessing to me. And the first thing was, what is going to happen about this job that I love and that's so important to me? And I had to go and speak to the coach, and I told him, I'm pregnant. I cried bitterly, like I was a standard 8 pupil, like I was basically 16 years old, going to tell the principal I'm pregnant, and he's going to say, well, you'll have to leave school now. You're expelled. And obviously he didn't say that to me. He said, congratulations, that's wonderful, you're pregnant. And of course you can come back to your job, because that was my main concern. How do I marry these two? And being a single mom, my work was really important to me. I could not just say, oh well, I'm going to stay at home and look after my baby. So it was very important. And when he gave me that opportunity, I just decided that this is what I would do. I remember so Cullen was born in June, I went back in August. I missed a few test matches in June, the big incoming series, and then I came back for the championship and was in Pretoria for the game. We were leaving the next day, we're going to Argentina, and obviously Cullen's with me now because he said it's fine, he's 8 weeks old. Breastfeeding, I've got the nanny, been through a whole process, consulted my pediatrician knew he's on call 24/7. If I'm in Argentina and I don't want to go to a hospital,
What to do?
different language, I had my whole medical kit with me. So there was a lot of logistics. I knew I couldn't travel on the bus with my baby. This is part of the logistics, so I would travel separately. So there were a lot of additional costs and having to pay for my nanny, but I was prepared to do it to keep this job. And those are the hard decisions that mothers make.
They do.
Not just for me, but for any working mom.
Absolutely. And to make them, to thrive in them, to care for this little extra Springbok of your own and care for the team and balance those two things. I mean, just trying to pump milk in the corporate space is a big thing. so much more on an international flight with so many players in the plane or on the bus, like you say. I just think it's an incredible picture of kind of your commitment to the role and your commitment to your son, balancing the two. And kind of coming through that together. I thought it was an incredibly special story. Tell us what motherhood has been like, because I think that's a place of leadership that requires just as much from us.
Yes, and it's interesting. I spoke to a group of single moms recently, and I went and did some research, and so many of the Springbok players had single moms. South Africans, there's a 43% single, parent households. Yeah. And it's incredible when you think about it. So being a single mom is not special. It's almost close to the norm in South Africa. But there are massive challenges that go with it. And you can't do it on your own. And I think a village, a community, and a lot of support. And you have to accept that from the onset, I think. That's the first thing. And I was really blessed that I had my parents that have supported me and continue to support me. My mom's not well. She has dementia at the moment, and she's had multiple strokes, so she's not involved in caring for my son. But even now, my father's still involved with my son, and you need that. You need that throughout your journey.
I love that the mentors never stopped. He's still Rene, it's just so hard to talk about all the things that we could fit into this conversation. I'm so super encouraged by your journey, by the resistance, the difficulty, people telling you food. I mean, you're being told to go cook versus the fact that actually, no, I'm going to make prime athletes cook. That is the space that I'm going to be in. You're a mom in this environment. You're a woman representing, and I think this is a key thing for me. Many women we've spoken to in this leadership space do something that I think male leaders don't have to think about. And that is they show up not just for themselves, but for those that'll follow. They show up for themselves, and they also create a community and a team that wins around them. You so quickly mentioned working with other women super casually and super happily. This myth that women don't thrive together, which I need us to get over so much. And I just really am excited to see your journey as you go forward. Former nothing. We look forward to hearing more about your journey and how you're bringing others through, and how you are leading like a girl in your space. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your stories with us.
Thank you so much.